Welcome to this episode of Alive and Thriving. I am going to take you guys through a three-part series. This is part one, where we are going to be talking about what it feels like and how you can create a conscious and aligned business that feels safe in your nervous system. And not only how you can, but why this is something that could potentially absolutely change your life. Absolutely change your life. So, we are going to get into that, and I'm so excited. Today, with part one, we are going to be getting deeper into the nervous system. I know you have probably heard the words regulated, regulation, self regulation, nervous system. You've probably heard them all over social media. They certainly are popping up a lot. So much content that says this doesn't make sure this feels good for your nervous system. And for so many people that I talk to, they're like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. And so I guess the reason why I really wanted to do today's episode the way that I am with some education, we're going to start with some education around what your nervous system actually is and how that impacts your business, is because I want you to know that it's not just a buzzword that is going around the internet. It is something that, in my opinion, should have been taken into consideration in our healing, in our businesses far long ago. So, if you resonate with what we're going to talk about today, I want you to know that the Transcendence Mastermind is going to be the perfect place for you to come in and create a conscious and aligned business that feels safe in your nervous system. You are going to be deeply supported and guided by myself and by my business strategist friend on three core pillars: personal evolution, because as you are going to hear throughout these next three series and through anything that I talk about, you are the driver of the vessel that is your business. Your personal growth is so much, almost more important than some of the strategies that you're going to learn. Because if you can't implement the strategies, if you can't get over your fear of being visible, if you can't get over the stories in your head that are stopping you from actually doing what you're doing and keeping you stuck and self-sabotaging and causing imposter syndrome, if you can't move past those things, if you can't let go of and heal from the layers that are ready to come up for you, that are keeping you in a perpetual state of even inner child making the decisions in your business, then you're only going to get yourself so far. And so personal evolution is a really key business strategy. And then we've got energy management. We're going to be supporting you on energy management. And this is on so many holistic levels. Energy clearing, energy management in terms of where your energy goes in your business, energy management in terms of emotional regulation and emotional intelligence, because as we know, emotions are just energy in motion. Energy management so that you can, and in terms of human design, in terms of working with your own strength, I do not believe there is a cookie cutter strategy for everybody's unique gifts, everybody's energy, everybody's way of thinking, the way that our brains have developed. We are all so different. We are all so different. And so the beautiful thing about the Transcendence Mastermind is that we're going to meet you where you are at in your business and support you to create something that impacts the world the way that you want to be impacting the world, in a way that feels good for you, in a way that feels safe in your nervous system, in a way that is conscious, meaning you are present, you are aware, and you're not on autopilot in your business. And we're going to talk more about autopilot in our second part to this series. So I'm going to skip to our intro and then we're going to get started.
You're listening to Alive and Thriving with Jessica Reed, the podcast that's all about empowering you to achieve optimal wellness and success through self-care, holistic practices, and raw conversations. Jessica and her expert guests are here to share powerful insights and strategies to help you overcome stress and anxiety, take charge of your life, and thrive in life and in business. Grab a cuppa and let's dive in.
All right. You can probably tell just from my introduction that I am very passionate about this topic. Understanding my nervous system when I was healing, when I was navigating my way out of living under the control of panic disorder, when I was navigating early childhood with my youngest daughter, understanding the way that my nervous system worked, understanding what it actually was. Because honestly, for so many years, when I would go to the doctor, I would go somewhere for help for anxiety. And if you know my story, you know that I didn't really take a lot of medication. And so anytime I would go somewhere though, with panic attacks, with anxiety, they would just be saying, or maybe they'd say, lower your stress, or they'd say, it's just anxiety. You need to practice your mindfulness. Yes, mindfulness is fantastic for anxiety. But at no point did anybody explain to me, not one, no one, no psychologists, no doctors, no hospital trips, no one ever said to me, you are stuck in a chronic state of fight or flight. Your nervous system is dysregulated. There are things that you can be doing on the daily to support that regulation so that you can actually teach yourself that living outside of this anxiety, because remembering, or you're going to learn, our nervous system finds safety in what is repeated. And what had been repeated for me was this anxiety response, this stress response. No one had ever explained what the nervous system was, what it meant, how it was connected into the brain and this and what happens through the stress response. And that was one of the first things when I started doing my work as an alternative therapist that I was so determined to share with the world. Because I think when we are stuck in perpetual stress or we're stuck in certain patterns of behavior or we're hitting certain glass ceilings in our businesses, or we're stuck even in certain health issues and things that yeah, we think that we really do generally feel like we're stuck. And having an understanding of the nervous system and what it actually means to be regulated and the impact that your nervous system plays in terms of all of those things and so much more, everything for your body's functions is just so important. And let's talk first of all about what the nervous system actually is. I want you to think about your nervous system like the control center of your body, okay? It's the wiring in your house that lets you turn on the lights and lets you turn off the light. But instead, it's for your body's functions. And so this system sends messages from your brain to different parts of your body and vice versa. It helps you to do everything, absolutely everything, from moving to senses to taking in the world around you to regulating how your internal organs work. So we have two main parts to our nervous system. We have the peripheral nervous system. So these are where all of the wires that connect your brain to your spinal cord to the rest of your body, like your arms and your legs and your organs. This is where they live. And then we have the central nervous system. Okay, so this is really where we're going to be working from today. We're going to be talking about the central nervous system. So this is actually in your brain and your spinal cord. So this is like the main control panel of your house. Okay, the one where all of the wires are attached to. This is what is going on. This is what it is for your body. So this is where all of the big decisions are made from. Now, the central nervous system has a fight or flight mode to help to protect you in dangerous situations. It's made up of two branches, parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Parasympathetic is where we live in rest and digest. It's where our digestive system functions properly. It's where our logical brain can engage. Our breath rate is normal. Our heart rate is normal. Blood pressure, all these wonderful things. The body is healthy. It's in a state of rest and digest. We can sleep properly. And we're regulated. but we're regulated. When we are in our sympathetic branch, we are in fight or flight mode. So, fight or flight mode is there to protect you in dangerous situations. It is something that is very primitive. It is inbuilt for our survival. It is very necessary. But as I'm sure you've heard me talk about in so many podcast episodes, in the world that we live in today, our fight or flight mode can be triggered by things that aren't necessarily a physical threat to our survival. So it helps you to react really quickly. So, for example, you need to just jump out of the way of a speeding car, um, but you've activated too often, like, for example, from chronic stress, like we were just saying before, how you don't need to be actually under attack for your fight or flight response to be activated. This could be coming from thoughts, it could be coming from emails, which again is really the thoughts and your perception of the emails. It could come from traffic lights. If your thoughts and perceptions are telling you that you're running late, for example, it could come from a conversation. It could come from really stressful situations. It can come from being on the go all of the time. It can also come from your brain being stuck in I guess, like a perpetual loop of a traumatic situation. And so when we are in these chronic states of stress, it can make us then feel anxious, drained, or even make us sick. So keeping our nervous system calm is really important, not only just for feeling good, but for our overall health. And then in terms of our business, a calm nervous system allows us to make better judgments and better decision makings. If we are constantly in fight or flight mode, our brain is prioritizing our survival, our immediate survival. And it is going to prioritize that over long term planning. It is going to prioritize that over anything that you have to do on your to do list. And so, what we need to realize is when we are coming into our day, coming into our business, sitting down with a client, whatever we're doing, if we are coming into that in a state of dysregulation, which it's estimated that around 80% of us are not regulated, 80% of us are living in a fight or flight response. If we are coming in that stage, then we need to remember that our logical brain is not on board right now. Our logical brain has taken the back seat. It's having a little holiday because our emotional brain is taking over. Our primitive brain, and call that our lizard brain, is taken over. And the reason for this, again, is because we're prioritizing survival. So, your need to think clearly, your need to write your emails, your need to do whatever it is that you need to get done today. Chronic stress can lead to brain fog, an overloaded nervous system. So, it can lead to brain fog, sensory overload as well. Have you ever just felt like everything is just too much, and then the noise is too much, and then the smells, and then everything is just too much? And so this can make it really difficult to concentrate. It can lead to really impulsive business decisions. It'll impact your creativity. When your nervous system is relaxed, your brain is more likely to engage in these expansive and creative thinking. But a stressed nervous system is going to hamper your ability to think outside of the box because again, that part of the brain is it's just not needed. It's just not needed when we are in our survival mode. So, a well regulated nervous system is going to help you focus on your tasks at hand. It's going to help you to increase your productivity. It's going to help your communication. So, if you think about it, a calm nervous system enables you to communicate more effectively. When you're stressed, you're more likely to misinterpret cues or body language or tone. You are more likely to communicate less clearly. It's also going to impact your well being, which we touched on just before. But that long term stress can lead to things like burnout, health issues, and that is going to affect your capability to show up as the person who is driving your impact driven business vehicle. Is going to affect your capability to be able to do that long term. And the other aspect of our regulation and our nervous system is the emotional resilience. Managing a business is an emotional roller coaster on its own. Ask any of my clients. Being an entrepreneur is an emotional roller coaster. Leadership is an emotional roller coaster. And if you are heightened, if you are in a state of fight or flight, if you are not regulated, then this is going to mean that the things that are being thrown at you that you need to cope with, that you need to manage, the ups and the downs that come along in your business, you are already coming in and meeting that with a cup that is 3/4 full of, I can't take much more. And then all of a sudden, that small thing that happens, or maybe even the big thing that happens, it just tips you over the edge in terms of your capacity to cope. So, the state of your nervous system can affect how you bounce back, how you interpret, how you manage and deal with your setback. And so, when I talk about creating, so this is how I guess, the impact that your nervous system can have on your business. And so when people talk about being regulated, it's really important. It's important for your healing. I will not go into a session, I will not get into the deep healing work of any session, whether we're working on trauma, whether we're working on someone's business goals, if that person is not regulated. Our focus and our intention is to get them to come back to ground zero or as close to as possible before we move forward. Because the body, the subconscious mind resides within your body, and the body is only going to allow you to go as deep as it feels safe for you to. And so that's why that is a really important step for me when I'm working with absolutely anybody in any scenario. If there's emotions attached, if we are coming in stressed, if we're bringing in everything from our day, it needs to go first before we dive deep, before we feel safe enough to allow ourselves to explore what needs to be explored in those sessions. You hear me talk about creating a business that feels safe in your nervous system. And I think it's really important to know what I mean by this. When we are making any decisions in our life, our nervous system is going to respond to our thoughts. It's going to respond to our feelings. It is going to respond. So basically, the nervous system takes safety in repetition. So if stress or anxiety or overwhelm or negative thought patterns, stories have been your repetition, have been repeated for you, then even though this is really uncomfortable, this is where your nervous system feels safe. This is your zone of comfort. This is like I guess, your window of tolerance. So what happens, and I see this in all aspects, what happens when we decide that we no longer want to be running with the story that we are not worthy of making money? And we start diving in and we decide that we are going to go and create, I don't know, $10,000 in our business this month, $20,000, whatever feels stretchy for you, $500, whatever feels stretchy for you. If you are trying to stretch out of what your nervous system knows to be safe, and your nervous system, say, for example, has this story, or your brain, your limiting beliefs have this story that you are not worthy of making money, then you might get that $500 and it might all of a sudden be due in a bill. You might get that $10,000 and then completely self-sabotage and take 10 steps backwards and then wonder why the strategies that you implemented didn't work for you. It is because consciously we have these desires, and subconsciously what we believe, what we have experienced, the programming, the internal programming of of our internal world, just like a computer, the internal programming is not allowing us to stretch past that. And so that's why we have procrastination, we have imposter syndrome, we have, I don't know, self-sabotaging, we have glass ceilings that we think that we hit all of the time and we don't know why. We do know why. This is our nervous system saying, hey, this is unfamiliar, therefore it is unsafe, therefore we are not going there. And so once you start to have this awareness, people talk about stepping out of your comfort zone. If you understand what stepping out of your comfort zone actually is, then you can start to work with your body a little bit in terms of the responses it's going to give you. Now, my process when stepping out of your comfort zone, when stepping into any new goal, we'll go back to the money goals. So let's say you wanted to make that $10,000, but you have that story. My process is to actually go into the subconscious and find the origins of that story. Because if we can emotionally desensitize those origins, maybe it comes down to something you experienced as a child. Likely it comes down to the stories and your experiences as a child, whether you put two and two together or not, because sometimes it doesn't fully make logical sense to us now, the conclusions that we came to when we are in our young formative years and we're using our emotions to make our conclusions. But once we can find that root cause and we can bring safety to that, we can bring safety to that inner child, we can bring safety and we can detach the emotions. What that means is that when we think about, say, $10,000, for example, or we come into the energy of $10,000, it no longer feels unsafe or scary. Because so often, too, with the nervous system, it's not only just stepping out of that comfort zone with that, we've got to remember what's been repeated is our internal stories. What's been repeated is our internal stories. So stepping out of the comfort zone is stepping out of literally your programming, your formative years programming. No wonder it feels so icky, and no wonder it's like a rubber band being pulled and snapping back. And that doesn't mean that we always have to snap back. We can gradually introduce. So if you want just some purely cognitive strategies, then we can interrupt. We can interrupt and we can reframe stories. We can challenge ourselves to just step that teeny bit further and sit in the discomfort. And then step that teeny bit further and then sit in that discomfort. What you will likely find, though, in my experience, is that once you do get, let's say you've made yourself feel comfortable and safe, I don't know, at $10,000, but you haven't actually dealt with that root cause, it could still come back to bite you if you've been emotionally triggered. So let's say the root cause lies around your parents and then something happens with your parents and maybe it's an argument or maybe it's a comment that they make or maybe it's something happens and all of a sudden you're triggered. The brain has that emotional association and it says, oh, actually, this $10,000 isn't safe either. Because remember, we are not worthy of making money because of XYZ. If you are gently, gradually exposing yourself, creating this new barrier, this new threshold, perfect, amazing. Keep doing that. But also find a way to desensitize, to bring safety to bring healing to the root causes because they are important. They really are important. Now, in terms of sitting in discomfort, this is also important. Really important. Because every time we feel uncomfortable, we have this urge to pull back. And that's against just safety. It's just the nervous system saying, hi, this isn't what I'm used to. What I'm used to is back here. Come back. And so for you to intentionally sit in that discomfort, the fear, the discomfort of, so for you to intentionally sit in that discomfort, you are gradually exposing your nervous system to say, okay, I'm in this discomfort, but nothing's happening to me. And some ways to make this easier is tapping. Tapping is a fantastic way to sit in the discomfort because we are literally, while we are feeling the discomfort, sending calming signals up to our brain to say, actually, but we're safe. I'm uncomfortable, but I'm safe. So I wanted to chat about, I went on a little bit of a tangent there. That is creating a business that feels safe in your nervous system. And that is something that we are going to very intentionally be working through, making you helping you to become an energetic match for what you want to bring into your world. And very much a part of that, huge part of that, is creating safety, creating a business that feels safe for your nervous system. That is what one huge part of what we're going to be doing in the Transcendence Mastermind. That is one of the things that you're going to be really deeply supported through. In terms of the nervous system, I just wanted to touch on the physical impact that how stress and anxiety can manifest in the body when we're in a constant state of dysregulation, because this could potentially harm your business. So I want you to notice, because this is a real invitation for you to become aware of what's going on for you. And if you resonate with any of these things, this is an invitation for you to dive deep and go, where am I not in alignment? Where am I getting this stress from? What thoughts are contributing to that? What experiences are contributing to that? How can I help my nervous system to feel safe in this next phase? So things like muscle tension, okay, particularly up through the neck and the jaw and the shoulders, the upper back, digestive issues, because stress activates the fight or flight response, which can really disrupt your digestive system, lead to things like bloating, gas, IBS, lots and lots of different issues. Not medical advice. Get it checked by a doctor, but be wary that long-term impacts of stress will impact your digestive system. Long-term headaches, regular headaches, tension headaches, migraines, particularly during frequent stress, sleep problems. This is for a few different reasons. Some of it is due to the cortisol, some of it is due to high levels of cortisol in the body from chronic stress. And then some of it is due to the fact that when we are in a fight or flight response, if you think about laying inside of a cave and knowing that there is a predator outside, which is what your fight or flight response, again, comes back to our primitive heritage, you're not going to sleep, are you? Knowing that there is something outside waiting to get you. Things like heart palpitations. Okay, so this can come from the rush of adrenaline that is caused by stress or anxiety, making your heart beat faster, racy heart feelings. Again, not medical advice. Get these things checked out by a doctor, but know that stress can contribute. Shortness of breath as well is another one. Take notice if you are breathing into your chest rather than deep into your belly. Anxiety, stress can all lead to short, shallow breathing, shortness of breath, often feelings of feeling like you're a bit choked up as well. Sometimes we can have excessive sweating when we are stressed. We can have skin reactions, weakened immune system. So you hear people say that they're really run down. Chronic stress can lower the body's immunity. Particularly, we think about the acidic nature of cortisol and the impact that it has on your immune system. It makes you more susceptible to infections when you run down. Changes to appetite as well. Again, we're impacting our digestive system. We could also be emotionally eating. Just so many things that living in a chronic state of dysregulation can impact in your body. And all of those are going to have an impact on your business. All of them. Anything that you are experiencing in your internal world is going to show up in some way, shape, or form. Because your business it's a mirror. Everything that is happening around you is a mirror. It's a reflection of what's going on for you internally. So, how do I fix? Come into the Transcendence Mastermind. That space was so important that I created it so that we can not only support your real human experiences, your internal world, but do it in a way that is strength led for your business. Okay. The other thing, I guess, to take into consideration with your nervous system is that traditional business models, I don't think they're fully supportive of our human elements. I really don't. And I think they very much contribute to nervous system overload, which obviously contributes to mental overwhelm, which is why I really feel like it is so important. And I'm going to say it again. to create a business that feels safe in your nervous system. Okay. This is not a traditional business strategy approach. We're not just focusing on revenue and marketing and scaling. And yes, all those things are important, but those things are going to be a reflection of your internal state. And so you're also paying attention when you're creating a business that feels safe in your nervous system to how your business activities resonate with your emotional and physiological state. When your business is in alignment with your nervous system, decision making becomes intuitive, stress levels reduce, and you are able to find natural flow in your daily tasks. And then this sense of safety and alignment can also dramatically improve your relationship with your clients. It is going to give out a more relaxed and confident state. And that is going to have an energetic roll on effect. Let me try that again. Roll on impact on the people that you work with. It has to have that impact. As you change and shift and grow, you are going to attract people who are attracted to that change and that shift and that growth. People, they're going to see it, they're going to feel it from you. This is the flow on effects of creating a business that feels safe in your nervous system. So, whether you are launching a new offer, whether you are tackling your email inbox, these actions should feel like a harmonious extension of yourself rather than something that you should be doing. So it's a really holistic way of operating that really nourishes not only your goal as an entrepreneur and an impact driven business, but also your well being, which is so important so you can be here. I had more I wanted to share with you, but I'm going to pause it there. And I'm going to invite you to come back next week where we are going to talk more about this topic of conscious and aligned business. We are going to talk a little bit more about, we're going to talk about autopilot next week, and we are going to talk a little bit more about autopilot and being more conscious in your business next week. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions about how the Transcendence Mastermind can support you, or whether a one-on-one container might be more what you need in this moment, depending on what you are experiencing in your internal world, then please reach out to me. We can have a complimentary chat and just see where you're at and which pathway might be best for you so that we can get you breaking through those glass ceilings, feeling safe in your business, feeling calm and regulated, and I guess at a place where you're not meeting everything with resistance. And business is fun, and life is fun, and everything flows with ease. And doesn't that just sound nice? All right. Have the most phenomenal day.
Wow, what a journey it's been today. We are so grateful for each and every one of you who tuned in to Alive and Thriving. If you enjoyed this episode and want to help us keep growing, please consider subscribing and leaving a review on your favorite platform. It's a simple but powerful way to support a small business like ours to continue to make an impact.